Imagine this, a dusty desert road, a furious prophet, and a donkey that suddenly turns its head and speaks. That's right, in the middle of an ancient Bible story, the donkey opens its mouth and asks its master, "Why are you hitting me?" If that sounds like the setup for a children's cartoon, think again. This is straight out of the book of Numbers, chapter 22. And here's the kicker, Balaam, the prophet, doesn't even act surprised. He doesn't faint. He doesn't scream. He just yells back like it's completely normal to have a heated argument with your livestock. That's what makes this story so funny, so weird, and so shocking. You expect wisdom from a prophet, but instead, it's the donkey who makes sense. Welcome to the strangest conversation in the Bible, where the punchline is serious. Sometimes the animal is smarter than the human. So who is this Balaam guy anyway? He's not a hero like Moses or Joshua. He's more like a prophet for hire, a spiritual freelancer who worked for the highest bidder. In ancient times, kings believed curses and blessings carried real power. If you wanted an enemy wiped out, you didn't just send an army, you also hired a prophet to curse them. And Balaam? He had a reputation. Kings sent him messengers carrying gold and silver because he could supposedly bend the spiritual world with his words. Think of him like a shady televangelist with one hand in the offering plate and the other waving in the air. But here's the twist, Balaam actually knew the God of Israel was powerful. He knew Yahweh was no ordinary deity. Still, his greed made him play a dangerous game, listening to God, but still chasing money. That tension sets the stage for disaster. Meanwhile, King Balak of Moab is watching the Israelites camp outside his territory. He's terrified. To him, Israel isn't just another tribe, it's a force of nature. They've already defeated powerful kings like Sihon and Og. Word on the street is their God splits seas, drops manna from the sky, and topples nations like dominoes. Balak knows he doesn't stand a chance in open battle. So he thinks outside the box, maybe if I can't beat them with swords, I can beat them with words. Enter Balaam, the prophet for hire. Balak sends not one, but 2 delegations, each bigger and more impressive, loaded with treasure. The message is clear, name your price. Curse Israel for me. Balak is desperate enough to believe spiritual smack talk could change the course of history. What he doesn't realize is that Israel isn't protected by magic, it's protected by God's promise. And no paycheck can undo that. At first, Balaam seems cautious. He tells Balak's men, I can't say anything unless God allows it. But deep down, the gold is calling his name. When the second delegation arrives with even greater riches, Balaam can't resist. God gives him permission to go, but only with one condition, he must speak only what God tells him. Balaam hears the words, but his heart is already chasing profit. So early the next morning, he saddles up his donkey for the long journey ahead. Picture him strutting out, servants carrying supplies, the donkey faithfully waiting as always. He probably imagined how glorious it would feel to walk into Moab's palace, pockets heavy with gold, respected by kings. But while Balaam dreams of wealth, God sees his motives. This isn't obedience, it's greed wearing a religious disguise. And God is about to block Balaam's path in the most bizarre way possible. Here's where the story shifts from greedy road trip to divine comedy. As Balaam and his donkey travel, God sends an angel with a drawn sword to block the path. The angel doesn't appear in a dream, or from the sky, it's just there, standing in the middle of the road like a heavenly soldier guarding a checkpoint. Balaam, the so-called prophet, doesn't see a thing. He's blind to the danger in front of him. But the donkey does. And this donkey has more spiritual vision than her master. She spots the angel and panics. The sight of a glowing warrior with a blade ready to strike? Nope, she's not going forward. It's ironic, isn't it? The man who claims to speak for God can't see what his humble animal sees. The donkey becomes the unlikely protector, trying to steer Balaam away from death. The comedy and tragedy begin here. The donkey sees the angel blocking the road and does the only logical thing: she swerves into a field. Imagine Balaam bouncing around on her back, robes flying, trying to yank her back onto the road. From his perspective, it's humiliation. He doesn't see the angel. He doesn't understand the danger. All he sees is his stubborn donkey making him look like a fool in front of the king's men. His pride boils over. Without hesitation, Balaam grabs his stick and beats her. It's funny and tragic at the same time. Funny, because Balaam looks ridiculous scolding his donkey like a frustrated parent. Tragic, because the donkey is actually saving his life. This moment shows how pride blinds us. We lash out at what we don't understand, instead of pausing to ask what might really be going on. Balaam thinks he's in control. The truth? He's the one being led. The journey continues, but the angel hasn't moved. This time, the road narrows between vineyard walls, no space to escape. The donkey sees the angel again, glowing sword drawn, and she panics. She tries to squeeze past the wall, pressing close. Balaam's foot gets smashed hard against the stone. He yells in pain, clutching his leg, and lashes out once more at the donkey. Can you picture the scene? A proud prophet hobbling, red-faced, beating the very animal that's keeping him alive. The comedy here is biting, literally. Balaam thinks he's punishing a bad donkey, but he's really punishing his only ally. His pride won't let him stop and think, why is this happening? He's so focused on appearances, so blinded by anger, that he becomes the fool in his own story. And the donkey, silent and long-suffering, carries on, until she finally can't anymore. The third time the angel appears, there's no space left. A narrow road, cliffs rising on either side. No escape. The donkey freezes. Then, with nowhere to go, she just collapses on the spot, legs buckling, body flat on the ground. And there's Balaam, sprawled in the dirt, robes tangled, flailing his stick in a fit of rage. Picture the king's messengers behind him, trying not to laugh at the so-called prophet throwing a tantrum at his donkey. Balaam doesn't see the angel. He doesn't see the danger. All he sees is humiliation. He beats the donkey again, cursing her stubbornness, convinced she's making a fool of him. But the reality is reversed. Balaam himself is the fool, blind to the danger, blind to the truth. At this point, God steps in to make the ridiculous obvious. The donkey's mouth is about to open. And then the impossible happens. God opens the donkey's mouth. She turns her head, looks Balaam in the eye, and speaks, "Why are you beating me? Haven't I been faithful all these years?" Balaam doesn't even react with shock. No wide eyes. No scream. He just yells back, "Because you made me look like a fool. If I had a sword, I'd kill you." Think about that. The prophet, supposedly wise, is having a shouting match with his donkey as if it's the most normal thing in the world. The donkey answers calmly, almost sarcastically, "Really? After all this time, do you think I'd suddenly act this way without a reason?" Balaam pauses. Well, no. It's comedy and tragedy at its finest. The wise man of God is being out-argued by his donkey. And the donkey is the voice of reason. At that moment, God opens Balaam's eyes. Finally, he sees what his donkey has seen all along, the angel standing there, sword raised, blazing with glory. Balaam collapses to the ground in fear. The angel thunders, "Why have you beaten your donkey? I came to oppose you because your path is reckless. If she had not turned aside, would have killed you and let her live." Imagine Balaam's shame. He thought his donkey was stubborn, when in fact she was saving his life. He thought he was the wise prophet, but he was blind the whole time. The irony is stunning. The animal had more vision than the man. The donkey was the true protector, the true servant. And the prophet, who should have spoken for God, was exposed as a fool. The angel's words cut Balaam down to size, reminding him who's really in charge. Balaam stammers, "I have sinned. I didn't know you were standing there. If you don't want me to continue, I'll turn back." The angel replies, "Go with the men, but only speak the words I give you." Balaam is humbled. The donkey is vindicated. And we're left with a shocking reversal. The supposed prophet was blind, the donkey saw the truth, and God used the weakest vessel to shame the proud. That's what makes this story unforgettable. It's not about a silly talking animal, it's about pride, blindness, and the unexpected ways God speaks. Sometimes the obstacle in your path is actually protection. Sometimes the voice of truth comes from the least expected place. And sometimes the joke is on us. This story flips expectations upside down, leaving us with one clear reminder: listen carefully, because even a donkey might be trying to save your life. So what's the takeaway from the Bible's strangest conversation? First, pride blinds us. Balaam thought he was wise, but his donkey saw what he couldn't. Second, anger makes us ridiculous. Balaam beat his donkey 3 times and didn't realize he was the joke. Third, wisdom often comes from unexpected places. God used a donkey to save a prophet's life. If he can do that, he can speak through anyone, anywhere, at any time. So the next time your path feels blocked, don't just react with frustration. Stop. Look closer. Maybe what feels like an obstacle is actually God's way of protecting you. And above all, if your donkey starts talking, just listen. Because sometimes the strangest stories carry the deepest truth. If you thought this story was weird, hilarious, and shocking, hit that like button, subscribe for more wild Bible stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because sometimes, the donkey has the last word.